Hey there, thanks so much for joining me today. I'm so grateful that you made a little bit of time for us. I'm super excited to be introducing a very long-standing friend of mine, Holly LeBlanc. Hey, Holly, how are you?
I am great, Anne. How are you? And thank you for having me.
I'm
It's a pleasure to be here.
so grateful you made the time for us. Really, I know you're busy, and I just love what you've been doing. Holly's a health and fitness coach, and she's been doing some really cool videos on Facebook. Now, I've known Holly, God, since I don't know how old you were when I first met you, but she's been in my family for a long, long time. And but I've been watching her grow in her business, and the stuff that she's putting out there is pretty amazing. So given that this is a 4 universal year where we're all kind of be looking at our foundations and looking at where we're going and maybe reconsidering maybe getting a fitness routine in there or re-examining our diet, looking at how to start our businesses, all sorts of things are at play right now. We're all being asked to kind of pause and re-examine where we're going. So Holly has agreed to do a 4-part series of videos with me. And the one we're going to be talking about tonight is called You Are Not Different, You Are Unique, and it's time to own who you are. I freaking love this topic. So I think first of all, and I also want to mention that we've got a series of, as I said, a series of 4 videos. So that's the first one. Then we're going to be doing one called How Do I Shut Down My Debbie Downer Demons? Stop doubting yourself, start trusting yourself. The one after that is going to be How to Live in the Land of What Is rather than the land of what if. Say goodbye to anxiety, say hello to living in the present. I think we can all use some of that. And the last one would be, are you holding yourself hostage with negative thinking? Set yourself free with a new mindset. I love these topics.
So great.
Yeah, so stay tuned because these are all going to roll over in the next few weeks. But Holly, how did you get inspired to become a health and fitness coach?
Well, I took psychology in university, and this was in 2006. I was halfway through, and I was like, this isn't really for me. And I started studying health and fitness. I got a personal training certificate, and I started working full time as a personal trainer. And I found that I was more interested in the nutrition aspect of it. I got a nutrition consulting diploma, and over the course of 18 years, I landed, throughout this COVID-19 thing, I realized, hey, there's people out there who can benefit from everything I've learned in this 18 years. Yep. I've overcome my own struggles. And, this is what I know. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm passionate about. So I got a international certificate in health coaching recently, just to, make sure I had that behind me before I put myself out there. Yeah. And here I am. So.
And I'm so amazed. Like, I'm just so pumped because I know, doing all these videos and doing all this stuff kind of was pushing you a little bit out of your comfort zone. Yeah. You're doing it. Like, I love this, right? Like, if all those years of wisdom, and that's the whole thing. Everybody has a story, right? We all have a story, and there's value in that story, but it takes guts and it takes determination and courage to be able to just to kind of put it out there, right? So I'm really, really grateful that you agreed to do this with me because I'm so impressed with the messages that you're putting out there, and I just want to be able to share them with my group. So.
Thank you.
Holly's website is www.prismahealthandfitnesscoaching.com. I'll put it up there for you guys so you'll be able to see it, and I'll put a link down below so of course you can connect with her as well. But today we're going to be talking about the fact that you are not different, you are unique. This is what I keep telling everybody. When we say that we're different, it implies separation. But if you say, I'm different, then you're telling me I'm different too. Right? Because one cancels the other. So let's just agree to be unique. So it's time to own who you are. So there's 4 points that Holly's going to be examining. The first one is allow yourself to be vulnerable. So what does that mean?
Yeah, well, just like you just mentioned, everybody's been somewhere. People will relate to you. Yeah. We have to be vulnerable with ourselves and with others. that's connection. And it's okay and it's powerful to expose how you really feel. Like I said, people relate. We've all been through, different experiences and struggles, so like you said, we are not, that uniqueness and differentiate, it kind of separates us, but really, like, we're all together in this.
Got it. We are all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so true.
Yeah.
And we all have a story that is uniquely our own. And I think, I was reading or listening to Brené Brown's book today, Daring Greatly. And she was talking a lot about empathy and how, it's scary to put yourself out there. And sometimes you're going to make mistakes. And sometimes you're afraid you're not going to be good enough. And sometimes it's, it's just terrifying to take a chance and take a risk kind of thing. But
yeah,
even if you fall, there's always going to be somebody out there that's going to go, damn straight, I've been that girl, right? And they're still going to admire you for at least trying.
Yeah.
So,
well, like, we're so programmed to believe that we have to suck everything up and put this face on and be thick-skinned, and that, being vulnerable in that way means that we're weak. And it kind of, we're taught that kind of puts us in this scenario to be embarrassed or hurt.
Yeah.
But it's not like that at all. That's an opportunity to show up for yourself and, really own who you are. That's courageous. That's powerful. That is, that's being seen and being heard. That's not weakness whatsoever.
I've always said, or I haven't always said, I have said in the last probably 10 years that one of my greatest strengths is my vulnerability. Is I don't mind sharing my shit. I don't mind sharing, the mistakes that I've made, the failures that I've had. Because if I feel that it is something that can benefit somebody else, then that's my strength. It's a gift that I give. I have to go. I always feel like I've got to, if I'm going to go through something crappy, I'm going to make sure you're not going to go through it either. Right. Exactly. Or at least I can be empathetic to your experience because I've been there.
Yeah. And that kind of leads me to, the second point, like, we have to look at our past experiences and kind of see how they're affecting our present view, because a lot of us do walk through life or have walked through our life looking at it through this lens that was placed there by what we've been through in the past, like a comment or, an event or whatever. And it added this layer, and that continued. And we took on an identity that really wasn't us, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then we tend to like look at or treat our relationships based on those past experiences. Yeah. And, it kind of limits our opportunities and how we see the world, because we have been taught, how to watch our own back, really, that kind of takes us further from who we are.
It does. It does.
Yeah. So
I heard an expression recently, and I'm probably going to get this screwed up, but it said something to the effect of, I am not my experiences in life. I am who I choose to become.
Exactly. Yeah.
We all get a choice to respond to the experiences in whatever way we want. We can be victims or we can be victorious. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and for some people, that's hard. Like, you hear people say, well, I've been through this and I can't do this. I can't move forward because they've been through something. But, it's about talking to that inner person, to going back and reevaluating what you've been through so you can change that perspective to one that serves you so you can move forward. So, it's really all internal, and you can't blame it on that past experience. You have to talk to your inner person and forgive yourself and express what you really think.
The ego.
Exactly.
I have big egos.
Right?
And I'm one of them. I confess, I am one of them. I'm an Aries, right? The world revolves around us. You guys just have to figure that out. But truly, there are certain numbers numerologically, the 1s, the 5s, the 7s, that are head cases, and we live inside our heads. We're thinkers, right? We're not feelers, we're thinkers. And when we're thinkers, we live next door to the ego, and the ego is always standing by ready to go boom,
Exactly.
Oh, you think you're smart? Boom, no, you're not, And sometimes we have to just look at the ego and tell them to go shut the up,
Yeah.
Because it's not productive. But we can control that. We can choose to stop that voice. Right? So and then we talked about expectations. One of your points is to release those crazy expectations.
Because those expectations just kind of add to that layer that we took on, right? And that's releasing expectations for ourselves and for others, because if those expectations aren't met, that just adds frustration, that adds disappointment. If someone doesn't meet your expectation, we immediately think, well, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? It has nothing to do with us except the fact that we created that expectation. My good friend put it, he said, once that desire ends, that internal struggle ends, and that allows you to be authentic and appreciate who you are and be present in your life and where you're at. So yes, releasing expectations it can be difficult, but it's a huge relief when you do.
One of the biggest healing modalities I have ever experienced in my life is YouTube. I don't mean watching a video on YouTube. I mean my experience of being on YouTube. I did not go on YouTube willingly. I went on kicking and screaming.
Right.
I wanted no part of going on YouTube. I was encouraged by 2 different people to get on there, and I finally said fine. And what I determined after time, right? You know what I'm saying? So, but after being on there, like I was terrified of judgment. I was so afraid that some other numerologist would call me out, don't know what I'm talking about, that I'm maybe misleading people or whatever. It was that judgment that I'm so afraid of the judgment. But the more I stuck it out and the longer I kept doing it, the more love I got shown, more appreciation I got shown. And I realized I wasn't getting a whole lot of flack. I was actually getting a lot of appreciation. And what I learned through a download that I got actually only 2 years ago was that don't ever worry about trying to be somebody else. Don't worry about letting people down. Don't worry about not meeting their expectation, because people are gravitating towards you because it's you. You might not have all the answers, but the universe brings us together because vibrationally we're a match. And when I finally realized that, I could let go of it all and I could take off the mask, and I stopped being who I thought everybody wanted me to be, and I started being who I chose to be. And I started being okay with who I was, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. And, I've recently went through the same thing. If you asked me last year if I would ever post a video on social media, I would have said, no, girl, you're crazy. But the more that I do that, the more, like the first time I did that, the feedback that I got was, and I was just being myself. And the feedback was like, I was really overwhelmed, and I was like, wow, I'm like, people relate, people are appreciating this. Like, and I'm, like I made, it was really stepping out of my comfort zone. But once I did it, and the more I do it, the more I'm like, this is me being me. Like, there's no difficulty in this.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. When we drop those masks, it's crazy. I learned so much about that recently. It's just, anyway, that's another day. But
unreal.
So
and that's so the last step that I find super important in this is being, making sure that you're saying and you're doing what you want. That is huge in terms of being authentic and vulnerable at the same time, which is huge in terms of expressing who you are. Again, we're so programmed we're taught, don't talk to strangers. If you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. But this kind of communication is, that's necessary for connection, for relation, for understanding. And it's about being honest with how you feel and your point of view. And that's authenticity, and that's self-compassion.
And don't you find that the more authentic you become, the better the relationships become around you, because the people that are in sync with who you are start to gravitate towards you.
Yeah.
I always say to my 11s, the 11s, they have a tendency to, their vibration is way up here, right? So the 11 vibration is very, very high, and the rest of us are kind of about here. But an 11 is also a 2, and a 2 needs partnership. So they get scared because they're up here all by themselves, and instead of staying up here in their 11ness, they pop on a mask of conformity, they drop their vibration, and then they connect here, right? And then they complain, nobody gets me, nobody understands me. And I'm like, well, no, they don't. Exactly, because you're wearing a mask. You're attracting people to you based on the mask that you've chosen to put on, but you're not showing your authentic self, so you're not attracting the right people.
Exactly. That is so interesting, so relatable.
Yeah, it is. And it just, I don't know, I understand what you're saying. I do.
Yeah, it's so true.
Trying to step into that authentic self is not easy, but once you do it, you'll start to realize how difficult it was to stay inauthentic.
Exactly. It's so true, you know.
Energy to be somebody else.
Yeah, it's so true. And there was a quote that I saw from Leonardo DiCaprio once, and it was like, when you are finally happy, everybody wants to be with you. You're attracting everybody because you're fine, because you're happy, and people want that. And like that just really kind of resonated with me, because you're right. Like, your relationships around you change, and you know, the ones that are supposed to be there, they're there. The ones that aren't will stay low, you know. They're not vibing with you, you know. And the ones that are supposed to be there will rise up and meet your energy. So
true. You know, I think I don't know, when I grew up, happiness was something that you got every now and again. But I was kind of raised to believe that, you know, life is goes kind of like this. Don't expect too much. You know, don't expect more than your share. You know, life is just kind of like this. It's hard work and discipline and difficulty, and you know, life's not a walk in the park kind of thing. But every now and again, something would drop down the pipes and make me happy. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And then it would go, oh, here comes, and, you know, but you were never really allowed to stay up here. You had to this was the norm. But I made a big decision 8 years ago to leave my marriage, and it was very difficult for a lot of people, but I reached out for my happiness. I didn't know how unhappy I was until I found happiness, right? And then I realized, wait a minute, this is normal. Like, you were born to be happy, right? And part of being happy, you're born to be happy. When you're unhappy, you're off your path. Plain and simple. You are going in the wrong direction. If you are not happy, you are not on the right path, and you got to figure it out. What do I need to do to get back on that path?
Yeah,
right?
It's so true.
And I think part of the happiness comes from being your authentic self and being okay with it, and don't give a shit what anybody else thinks or how you're going to be judged or whatever. Those people don't matter. Those are the ones that are afraid to step into their authentic selves.
Exactly. It's all about that growth, that personal growth.
Exactly. So totally. How would you like for people to connect with you? You're on Facebook?
I do have a Facebook business page. It is Prisma Health and Fitness.
Okay.
And I do have a website, which I believe you mentioned in the beginning, prismahealthandfitnesscoaching.com. Okay. And I do have a YouTube channel, Prisma Health and Fitness. You should find me. If you just type that in, it should pop right up.
Excellent. Awesome. So we would sure appreciate if this message has spoken to any of you out there. We would love it if you would share it with somebody else who could benefit from it as well. I really look forward to our next video, which we're going to talk about how do I shut down the Debbie Downer demons. And for those of you who are not the Debbies, maybe you're the Davies. I don't know. Stop doubting yourself and start trusting yourself. So this is for anybody who is really having trouble stepping into their light because they've got some self-doubt going on. So can't wait to discuss that. So
Yes,
Uh,
awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Anne.
oh my gosh, my pleasure. Absolutely. I'm so excited that we got the chance to do this, and we'll be sharing
Yes.
more in the future. So
Awesome.
thanks, Holly. Thanks so much. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Hoping you're having a great day. Hoping you're creating your best day ever. Take care. Bye for now.